All right, YouTube family, if you are thinking about moving to the Killeen area or Fort Hood due to affordable homes, cost of living, especially compared to the Dallas and Austin area, then this is exactly the video that you are wanting to take a look at. So compared to some of those areas, we definitely have a different price range on quite literally everything. And if you're looking to relocate, then you typically want to know what that month-to-month expense looks like. So some things may be honestly probably cheaper, and some things may surprise you. So just because we're a smaller city doesn't always mean we are the least expensive. And if you don't know who I am Brina Gordon, your favorite Central Texas realtor. And today we're going to be talking about the real cost of living in Killeen. My goal is always to ensure you have all the tools and resources that you need to make informed decisions, which of course includes knowing how much it costs to live here. So in today's video, we will be covering housing costs, utilities, groceries, dining, best neighborhoods. Every neighborhood has its own pro and con, but we're just going to talk about some of the more popular ones, commute times, and just information that you need to know when making these sort of large considerations of areas. So whether you're PCSing or Fort Hood, relocating from another state, or just considering the Central Texas area, this is a video that should help you picture what to expect. So you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned. Comment down below if you have specific questions or if you want to dive into something a little bit deeper, because I want to make sure I'm covering all the information that you guys are looking for. So if I'm missing something, just let me know and I'll do a video on it. So let's start with the biggest expense of all. We're going to take it from the top. And of course, that is going to be housing. So one of the biggest reasons people move to the Killeen area is definitely due to finances as far as our cost of housing. Now, granted, this is very much a military installation. So a lot of people move here because they are military affiliated. But you'd be surprised the amount of people that actually move here just because they are doing research, like watching videos like mine and comparing it to other cities. And they are very much interested in our cost of housing, especially compared to larger cities like Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, all of which are very reasonable drives away from the Central Texas area from Killeen, but you don't necessarily have to deal with the price tags and some of the other things that come along with that. So here in the Killeen area, granted we have other cities around, but we're just going to focus on our bigger city, which is Killeen. You can find homes starting in the 200s. And slight caveat, there are new construction, smaller homes actually in the 180 price range in Copper's Cove. I don't know how many places in the nation you can find a smaller brand new home with warranties in the 180s price range, but you can here in our area. But in Killeen, you can definitely get some homes in the lower 200s. You can get some homes well in like the 150s, 160s, 170s. But I know for most people, depending on the size of the home, of course, larger homes have a little bit larger price tag. That low 200 is definitely a sweet spot. You can get new construction homes starting well in the 250s to 300 ranges, and those vary so much if you want a larger one, if you want a smaller one, if you want a certain community. So we just have a lot of different selections out here, and that really is one of the stronger selling points for this area. Now, of course, if you want a high-end home, we've got that too. You've got beautiful communities like Bella Chaga, Heritage Oaks, or Harker Heights, or certain areas of Harker Heights that are well above the 400 range, and they're going to give you more of those luxurious feels, luxurious amenities, and all those sort of things that maybe are meeting that particular sort of lifestyle that you want. Now, if you're looking to rent a home, with this being such a large military installation, there is a lot of transitions that happen here. There are people that buy homes and then have to lease them out, and then you have people that know they're only going to be here for a couple years, and they're like, they may not want the financial commitment of a home, which is totally understandable, but they still want to be able to lease in a good neighborhood. And so with that being said, for renters or apartments, those can definitely range, but you can easily start in the 900 range, go up to 1400 depending on the location and upgrades and amenities in the specific area. Especially some of the apartments, they do have more amenities than standard neighborhoods typically. But homes can definitely range between 1400 and 2500, again depending on that lifestyle. Because even in some of the high-end neighborhoods, people buy those homes and life changes and they may not want to sell it just yet. There's a lot of people that will rent them out until they come back. And so those would be those homes that are in that 2500 plus range, to where, of course, they're going to be a little bit higher just due to the area, size, location, and all those factors. So compared to a lot of cities in Texas, housing here is still relatively affordable. And I've made several videos about communities here, price ranges, and all of that, so you can definitely check those out and kind of take a look at some of our up and coming areas, some of our established areas, and see if any of those are of interest and what those price points look like as far as real homes in real time, not just imaginary concepts.
Hey, if you're thinking of relocating to the Fort Cavazos area, I have just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research. And I have it linked right down below. The best part is there's no obligation to this, and it's going to come with everything from the top employers to the best schools and a boatload of other information. Everything that you need to make the best decision. Again, no obligation. So make sure you click the link below. It also will be pinned, and I hope that it helps.
So let's move on to number 2. Now, this is where people sometimes get surprised. And with number 2, we are going to talk about utilities. So water, electricity, we have internet and all that, but that's, I think, a little bit more in line with the nation. But the Texas heat is very real here. Very, very, very real. All of our electricity, for the most part, it's all sourced from Encore. Now, sometimes, you know, there's always probably a caveat there, but for the majority of the areas, it's all sourced from Encore. But for most of our area here, you can actually select your own individual provider. So I know that's different compared to a lot of the nations. So that is one way that you can budget or try to be a little bit more budget friendly with that. But honey, that heat is still very real. So either way, in the summertime, when it's 105 degrees outside for the week straight, you're going to be cranking up that AC to a certain degree. So that is very much dependent upon your size of home, your installation, thermostat settings, whether the home is newer or older, because, you know, there's the newer homes, there's a lot more things built in to make it a lot more energy efficient. So it's still hot, you're still going to have your AC set, but of course it can definitely factor in those terms that I just mentioned as far as how crazy that bill gets. Now, for someone like myself, my home is under 1,700 square feet, and so I would say my bill really never goes past 200. And I know that may scare people still. I don't know what you're used to in your area, and that's usually when I'm like just constantly doing something, or, you know, maybe using electricity a little bit more. Now, again, you can always price shop, because depending on how long your contract is, when my contract gets close to expiring, I'll usually check around, see if anyone else is offering a better deal or some sort of perks or after hours or weekends or free, you know, something like that, to see if it can get a little bit better, because you're going to use electricity here, and that just is what it is. We do have some of our transitional months that get a little bit better, but summertime and it's hot more than it is not hot here. So it just is what it is. So for a lot of homeowners, the electricity bills can very easily range between that 120 to over 300. And I know over 300 scares people, but it's something that you need to keep in mind, especially if you're buying a home, or if you're even renting, because if you have a large home that you're renting, 2-story, 3,000 square feet, that's a lot of space to heat and cool. So these are definitely factors that you want to keep in mind. And these are things when you're purchasing that you don't only want to look at your monthly payment, but you're going to want to look at that, or at least try to estimate or keep in mind your utilities are going to be something too to keep in mind. So water, trash, sewer are all usually monthly expenses that you need to factor in. Plus internet, like I said, usually not too bad on that, depending on, you know, if you try to get something fancy, I don't know. But it's commonly, you know, $60 to $100 depending on some of those. Water is usually set by the city, unless you're a little bit further out, then those can be co-ops. And with co-ops, those are structured a little bit differently. So either way, you don't have a choice. It's either the city or the co-op. But I do think with the co-op, they have a little bit more of a, I think they can be a tad bit pricier. Now, I will say for most of the cities too, there is a minimum. So I know, like for the city of Killeen, even if you don't use a certain amount of water, you still just have a minimum amount that you're going to be paying. Because that was a little bit of a shocker for me. And I was like, I know I'm not using this much water, but there's actually just a flat monthly fee for pretty much anything. And if you go above that, of course you pay, but below it, you still just pay this flat fee. Expenses are expensive, and utilities are going to be a part of your purchase process, your lease process. It's going to be a part of your month-to-month expense that you need to take account for, because it can take you by surprise, especially with your electricity bill. Now that we've got some of the more serious topics out the way, let's talk about food, dining, and lifestyle. Now, I have made a couple videos on just general things about our area, things to do. I've got that. I did a food truck testing video. So one thing that I think surprises a lot of people, yes, anywhere anywhere has restaurants, right? But not everywhere is connected to one of the largest military installations in the world. And what reflects in that is our cuisine selections. So that's something that surprises people about the Killeen area, is that we are very diverse, and so our food is also very diverse. And I love that for me, because your girl loves a good anything. Like if it's good food, count me in, chef, count me in. So I love that. It's really reflective in our community and our restaurants and our food trucks and our mom and pops, because those are really the heart and soul of an area. You know, I think any sort of kind of demographic, food is always kind of like a center of it. So I really love that we have that option. So whether you want Korean, Mexican, Jamaican, which, you know, barbecue, Creole, just German, we just got a little Thai. We've got everything out here and pretty close. Or if it's missing, maybe that's your opportunity to open it, because I'm pretty sure people would eat it if it's good. So we've got local coffee shops. Who doesn't? Now, Killeen, small caveat, don't open another coffee shop unless it's a mom and pop offering something really unique, but we don't need another chain coffee shop. I digress. But there's so many hidden places. We have big chain ones as well, but there's a lot of mom and pop ones. And again, the food truck scene here, they're kind of broken up, but that's another way to really experience some of the local taste that's here. And so I really love that, and I think you will love that too. It's just knowing where to go. So if you just want to grab Thai tacos, you know, you're feeling something, and then we also have the Taste of Killeen once a year. So that's a really cool thing to do downtown, because you have the opportunity to actually taste different restaurants or food trucks food. So that's a great thing to kind of check out too. So I love that the city of Killeen, small caveat, is really trying to hone in and just really embrace and showcase so many things that are around the area, including a lot of times food is always involved, because it brings people out, and people are usually happier when there's good food. So you'll see different companies and restaurants always showcasing their menus and their foods at different events out there in the downtown area, or anything that Killeen does usually. Okay, this brings us to topic number 4, which is a bit more serious. So we kind of went serious, a little fun, and now we're going to get back a little bit more serious. Best areas to live. Now, I have to say this with a slight disclaimer, because everyone's preference can very much differ, what you're looking for and all that. So when I say best areas to live, I'm kind of just referencing some of the communities that maybe are established a little bit stronger, communities that my clients are looking at a little bit more. And so that's more so the reflection. Again, everyone's lifestyle, everyone's budget, everyone's preference is perfectly fine. I'm just kind of using some general information to kind of present this to you. So it really depends on your lifestyle, your budget, your commute, the type of environment that you want. Sometimes people want to be close to the city. Sometimes people want to be as far away as possible. All of it is good. And something that I always like to tell people moving here is, don't judge Killeen as one big giant area. Central Texas is very much neighborhood specific. So you can go to 2 different communities on the opposite side of Killeen and be like, what? And you can do the same thing in Harker Heights, and people, you know, have these preset notions about the area, and it usually doesn't always line up. So I actually have a client now. She was really just for sure that she wanted to live in Belton and Killeen, or Belton and Harker Heights, and then she started to see the homes in Killeen. And I'm telling her that I live in the Killeen area. I live in Killeen, and I have for a very long time. My parents live in Killeen. I've sold homes in Killeen. We wouldn't be living here if we were like, oh my gosh, scared, or, you know, concerned about certain factors. Again, with any area, you have older communities, and we do have older communities in Killeen, but it's just in different areas of Killeen. So let's talk about some of the well-established communities with strong reputations. So when you're looking at a well-established community, we're kind of looking at what's desirable. And so I'm kind of referencing places like White Rock Estates that has several different phases, but each phase is definitely unique. And there's probably more styles of homes in there than people realize, because if you like part of it, if you just go towards the front, it was kind of originally a lot of D.R. Horton and Syntex, but then you go towards the back and there's literally homes in the $700,000, $800,000, $100,000 range, and you would just never know that. And then you go to another section of it and it was majority like Stylecraft and some, you know, probably a couple other builders, Bettina, and you would just, it's a completely different style of home selections out there. So those are just some contrast with that community, but it's still holding its value overall pretty well. People still do relocate and move there pretty well, and so that's why I considered a strong established community with a strong reputation. Same thing with Skipjaw Mountains. This is actually going to be located in the Harker Heights Killeen border area, but it's an older established community, but again, people do like living there. It's easy to, you know, resell a home there. People like it because I think most of it is zoned towards the Harker Heights school. So again, just kind of well-established neighborhoods in both areas that people like for different reasons. Both of them are pretty actually they're kind of close to each other, but they're also very easy to get to any sort of destination, whether it's in Killeen or Harker Heights, because they're kind of sit on the border of each other. So those are probably some areas that people look at quite often. And these neighborhoods are also known for larger homes, mature landscaping, like I said, easy access to shopping, overall just good reputations, easy access to community parks. So you can a lot of people love to go to the park that's kind of in between both of them. So Saturday mornings it's full with run clubs and kids on the swings, and it's got a dog park, it's got the YMCA right there, so people love that. It is a sense of community. And when we talk about luxury new construction homes, we're kind of looking at the newer upscale side, so places like Heritage Oaks, Herring Legacy, also all kind of, there's really like a 3-mile radius of a section of Killeen that's really popular, and they both kind of have for different reasons. So this community too has larger homes. They have a lot of 1-story, but they have a lot of big 2-stories too. In the Herring Legacy and Heritage Oaks area. You also have Tuscany Meadows. That's a really nice community in Harker Heights as well. So larger homes, of course, larger finishings as well. Three-car garages on a lot, not all, but on a lot of them. You have the settlement that's right in between it. That is also a new construction. I don't know if they're actually still building there. If they're not, they just finished up probably towards the end of last year or the beginning of this year. So these are all areas that people gravitate to when they're looking for something a little bit more high end. Still very well within the city, so easy access to everything, but a lot of times maybe retirement side or just wanting kind of those high-end finishings on homes. For military buyers and convenience, for military families wanting easier access to Fort Hood, South Killeen tends to be a popular area, and it's going to be that because of the commute times. Those are very manageable and affordable new homes, so a little bit of both. And again, people just don't realize what's out there, and so you'll see a lot of people kind of gravitating now more towards Turnbow Ranch, Reall Ranch, Purser Crossing area. I'm kind of already mentioned Herring Legacy, which is still a little bit more in the high end, but again, it's also easy access to Highway 95, which is going to be a straight shot to Austin. So a lot of people that need to commute to Austin, maybe one spouse is on Fort Hood, the other spouse is in Austin. Those are good areas to locate to, just because it is a little bit easier for both parties to kind of get to work. And then for those individuals that I'm okay with a little bit further of a drive. I want more peace, more quiet. I won't say peace, but a little bit more tranquil, maybe larger spaces on lots, maybe have some chickens without them annoying the neighbor or something like that. So then places like Nolanville, Salado, and parts of Copper's Cove will then definitely come into place. So those atmospheres can definitely be a little bit quieter. Again, just different lifestyles, different pace for different folks, and anything works as long as you love it. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, because that is what makes a home. And truthfully, if you talk to locals, most people don't judge Central Texas by the city alone. They judge it by the neighborhood. They judge it by, which section are you living in. And I won't say judge, but that's kind of how they categorize it. So it's not like, oh, I live in Killeen, because it's like, where in Killeen? It's for this area, it's a relatively large city. So the best way to approach it is kind of like the subdivisions, the sections, like I'm South Killeen, I'm North Killeen, I'm over here, I'm by 95, or I'm over by the new high school. And then people kind of have a general idea of where you're located, like, oh, okay, cool. And there's some new construction over there, or, there's road work all throughout the area. So stuff like that. Now, with that being said, commute times. A lot of times when I'm talking to people, that's usually one of their bigger concerns. Like, well, I don't mind driving, but maybe I don't want to go more than 20 minutes. I don't want to go, I still want to be able to get to the store. I want to be able to get to Target. I want to be able to get to whatever is most important to you. So this is an area of convenience for the most part. Again, if you start to get outside of the cities or, a little bit further out, it can be a little bit more of a inconvenience, just slightly. Typically stuff is still pretty reasonable, but for the most part you can get around this entire area in about 15 to 25 minutes depending where you're at. Even the Temple to Belton area, you're starting to push 20, 30, maybe sometimes if you're like far out Temple, then maybe 35 to 40 minutes depending on traffic. 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you're always gonna have traffic in that area. But there's nothing like the Austin or Dallas area, so those are very different conversations when we're talking about traffic. It's sometimes I kind of just chuckle because they're like, oh, I don't want to be more than an hour, and I'm like, honey, if you're more than an hour, you're in Austin. There's nothing in this immediate area to where you're gonna have to drive that far, and the worst traffic you're gonna have is probably getting off post or getting on post. Truthfully, everything else in between, very much doable, very much within reason. Nothing should scare you. So to sum it all up, if you've stayed for this entire video, I hope that you were able to find something helpful. So let's give some overall pros and cons. Pros: more affordable housing compared to most of the city, strong military community, continued growth and development. Check out some of my other videos. Lots of established neighborhoods, strong new construction area, because I know a lot of people still do want a newer home just for a little bit of peace and insanity because they just sometimes don't want to have homes that other people have lived in, whatever your preference is. Larger homes for the price compared to most in the market. Now, sometimes those price tags still catch people by surprise, so I don't want to say everything is just inexpensive here because it does depend on what you're looking for. Cons: hot summers, property taxes can probably surprise you as well, in addition to those utilities. Texas does have high property taxes, so I think I talked about that in another video too, so make sure you check out some of my others because I'm always just giving some information. Areas really heavily depend on the neighborhood, so that's what I would kind of really make sure you're honing in on, not the city but the individual neighborhood that you're looking in. And Killeen is still developing, so some parts definitely feel newer than others, and so sometimes there can be a slight disconnect of where do I want to stay because this part is new and this part is old, like what's going to be okay. Overall, if you're looking for a place where your money goes further, especially compared to larger cities, Killeen and Central Texas area will definitely check that box. If you're PCSing here to the Fort Hood area and buying in the Central Texas area, I would definitely love to help. I have so many guides and additional information that I'm happy to share with you to make sure you're making informed decisions. As always, I'm Brina Gordon, your favorite Central Texas realtor, and I hope you found this helpful. My contact number will be in the description box below if you'd like to reach out.